Multiple Olympic teams have already left our city to train in North Carolina, and others are in talks to do the same. Our KRDO 13 team is live across Colorado Springs and in North Carolina tonight. KRDO 13 anchor Heather Skold traveled more than 1,500 miles to Charlotte to get answers. Heather joins us live tonight to kick off our Olympic City identity crisis coverage. Heather?
KRDO 13 has spoken with multiple sources from Olympic teams in Colorado Springs who confirm they are in talks to potentially transfer their training to here in Charlotte, North Carolina at this elite training facility. None want to go on camera for fear of retribution from the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, but some teams have already made this transition, which begs the question, if more teams follow suit, what does that mean for Colorado Springs and Olympic City, USA? Most who live in Colorado Springs are familiar with the Olympic and Paralympic Training Center. It's been a staple in the Springs since 1978, a hub for America's finest athletes. But according to insiders, the facility is a ghost town.
It's like going to the zoo, but there's no animals in the zoo.
Eli Brimmer trained there for 12 years as an Olympic pentathlete. He's stayed in touch with Olympic teams here and says there's been a massive shift in the last decade.
We've lost the athletes here. We've lost coaches. We've sort of lost the infrastructure.
Come to find out, there's a colossal competitive effort to clinch Olympic teams. Enter the United States Performance Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's already the training site of 3 national governing bodies, USA Archery, USA Taekwondo, and USA Field Hockey, all of which used to train in Colorado Springs. It boasts that a dozen Olympic teams in total train here. KRDO 13 has learned the team migration was a partial fulfillment in a pitch by the Performance Center with the nearby town of Kannapolis, North Carolina. The Kannapolis city manager detailing the original pitch to secure 6 or more national governing bodies, with even more Colorado Springs-based teams on the list. Kannapolis paying the U.S. Performance Center upwards of $1.1 million to secure the deal. City planners even dreamed of establishing it as Olympic City. The deal with Kannapolis ultimately fell through, though. They partially blamed COVID, and the Performance Center refunded the city. The U.S. Performance Center, regardless, is thriving. Its founders told Sports Travel magazine last month for years they've come to Colorado Springs, meeting with teams to find out what they needed. It's the money, facilities, and resources the U.S. Performance Center offers that teams say they just can't pass up. Performance Center co-founder Ike Belk said, "We're here to be an asset and let everyone know North Carolina can be a home base and be a great place and a platform for athletes to thrive off of. I definitely have further aspirations, but I don't know if I can say that now." The United States Performance Center didn't deny its current negotiations with teams in Colorado Springs, but did say, "We've never used the phrase Olympic City and or Olympic State." The document with that specific language is a City of Kannapolis internal document, not a USPC document. So where does that leave Colorado Springs and the presence of athletes at the Olympic Training Center?
I don't know if the brand matters as much as the experience. You know, the concept of Olympic City, USA is one where you could be downtown at a coffee shop and an Olympic gold medalist just wanders in and grabs a cup of coffee.
And it remains to be seen how many national governing bodies will stay there in Colorado Springs versus coming here to train. We're live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Heather Skold, KRDO 13.
Multiple current and former Olympic athletes say the financial strain and lack of resources are the biggest barrier to training here. The U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee oversees all Olympic sports. It also supports athletes and the national governing bodies or teams financially. We are hearing directly from one Olympian about her struggles training at the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Training Center. KRDO 13 Sports Director Rob Namnoom is live there to explain the impact to some athletes. Rob.
Yeah, Samantha Schultz was an alternate on the 2016 U.S. Olympic pentathlon team, and in 2020 she made the team. And recently she told us about the ups and downs of training here in Colorado Springs.
The sport of modern pentathlon consists of 5 events. We have fencing, swimming, horseback riding, running, and shooting.
Amy Schultz, off and running.
Samantha Schultz started her run as an Olympian on the USA pentathlon team in 2010.
And I think when I first started the sport, it was kind of a shock to me that I wasn't funded more. Okay, I'm up and coming. I still have to prove that I should be here and that I am worthy of going to the Olympics and I have potential.
And the winner of the senior division, the Pan American Games silver medalist, welcome Samantha Schultz.
She had so much potential that in 2012, she was able to live at the Olympic Training Center for free.
So I lived, ate, slept, trained, all the things at the Olympic Training Center leading up until the Rio Olympics.
But after the Rio Olympics in 2016, in which she was an alternate, she no longer was able to live at the OTC for free.
I was really never given a reason as to why our resident program was cut. A lot of times things were political and we really didn't know the depth of it. Essentially, we didn't get any medals in Rio, so that's kind of like, well, we didn't perform, so we're gonna have cuts made. No longer could we live there for free, access the meals for free.
It made for training for the 2020 games much more difficult.
So having that ability to have a residency spot where I could live somewhere for free, have food for free, access to coaches, sports medicine, that was like the only way I really survived through that 4 years.
She often wonders, with all the fundraising that goes on, how come some athletes never see a dime of it?
Donate to Team USA, donate to this, and it's like, well, where is all that money going? Like, I'm not seeing any of this, especially if you're not training at the training center.
Samantha says a reason why athletes don't speak up is because they don't want to make a splash.
As athletes, like, you want to perform, but you also don't really want to rock the boat and cause a lot of issues, because that could be your spot and you want to just kind of be a good athlete and do what you're told.
As you just heard from Samantha, it's tough to focus on training when you have to worry about costs for training. And also, think about this, as a pentathlete, you have to train for 5 different sports. So that's a lot of hours in training, and it's much easier to do it at one facility. Now, she qualified for the 2020 games. She was the only U.S. female athlete on the pentathlon team who made it to the 2020 games. She finished 21st out of 36 competitors. Reporting from outside the Olympic Training Center, Rob Namnu for KRDO 13.
Rob, thanks. We have also learned that Colorado Springs taxpayers pay close to $2 million each year to keep the Olympic City USA title. But KRDO 13 Investigates uncovered documents revealing the agreement that keeps the Olympic headquarters here has a buyout option coming up later this year. KRDO 13 investigator Sean Rice is live downtown to explain this agreement between the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee and the city. Sean.
Yeah, Bart, over the last 15 years, the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee headquarters have been right here along South Tejon Street in downtown Colorado Springs. But improvements made to this building here behind me have been paid for every year by you, the Colorado Springs taxpayer, totaling over $1 million annually. The attraction to Colorado Springs for Olympic athletes is evident.
Athletes come from all over the world to train in Colorado Springs because of the assets that we have right here.
The altitude and ability to train below the Rocky Mountains is hard to compete with. It's why the city of Colorado Springs says it's invested millions of dollars to acquire the title Olympic City USA. In this agreement, inked in 2009, the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee agreed to continue calling Colorado Springs home, and for the city to brand itself as Olympic City USA for the next 30 years. The city agreed to pay around $1.7 million a year until 2039. That money is partially supposed to go towards updating the Olympic and Paralympic Training Center. The agreement allows them and national governing bodies to avoid paying taxes on their office buildings. Tax records show the Olympic and Paralympic Committee, a registered nonprofit, made over $61.6 million in profit in the year 2021. How has that agreement helped the city of Colorado Springs?
We are Olympic City USA. So when you look at being the epicenter of the Olympic movement, it is a way to galvanize the sports ecosystem. If you look at just the core values of the Olympic movement, excellence, friendship, and respect, those are kind of a rallying cry to like-minded partners who want to come and live and train in Colorado Springs.
Those benefits stretch into the financial, as the city says hundreds of athletes and coaches move here and bring thousands of visitors annually. And even with sports teams moving away, the city views other cities vying for this title as reason enough to keep it here long term.
Well, I think that's a validation that we have a great brand. A brand that was coordinated and trademarked with the International Olympic Committee.
The city's agreement does allow for the Olympic and Paralympic Committee to buy out in October 2024. However, that is not on the table right now, according to the city and Olympic and Paralympic Committee.
We have not had any indication from our partners over at USOPC. We keep our conversations open. It's a private decision, and we believe that they're very happy here in Colorado Springs.
The USOPC tells KRDO 13 Investigates they are not planning on moving their headquarters away from Colorado Springs. The CEO says the organization is proud to call Colorado Springs its home. She adds that the Olympic presence here in Colorado Springs has grown significantly over the last few years, with multiple national governing bodies deciding to call Colorado Springs its home, too. Reporting live in downtown Colorado Springs, Sean Rice, KRDO 13 Investigates.
Today, the Colorado Springs mayor is responding for the first time since our report uncovered a number of Olympic teams leaving Colorado Springs to train in North Carolina, with others in talks to do the same. Our Heather Scold attempted to get answers today, but was cut off by the mayor's staff multiple times.
We don't share that sentiment.
We must be hearing different stories.
There are two sides of the story, like everything. There are always two sides of the story.
You know, and there's a nearby Kannapolis.
We're gonna gotta wrap up at 10:45 here, so.
Okay.
All right.
Heather joins us live once again after asking the mayor some tough questions and attempting to ask a few more, including one about how his chief of staff is describing those teams that are leaving. Heather.
Bart, last week, we uncovered that 4 Olympic teams that used to base their training here in Colorado Springs now train at the U.S. Performance Center in North Carolina in Charlotte. And our investigation also found that multiple other teams are in talks to potentially do the same. We wanted to know what that means for Olympic City, USA, and we also wanted to ask what the mayor thought about his chief of staff making recent comments about those teams. Your chief of staff is on record writing over the weekend that teams have left are very, very small. Is that your perspective, and can you help us understand what your office means by very, very small?
Yeah, so in my conversation with Sarah, the head of the Olympic Training Committee, she also confirmed that some of the teams, some of the groups that have left, maybe the organizations with 5 employees, 6 employees, 7 employees. I am actually trying to wrap my head around who's left and who's not left. According to the article, I believe I was notified that there are 3 potentially organizations that have moved, and I think
there
a couple
are already 4 actually.
Okay.
With many more to follow potentially.
Okay, I haven't heard that.
We then pressed the mayor about taxpayer money being spent and athletes leaving. Back to the Olympic athletes, I want to ask, does it bother you, does it worry you that our taxpayer money, $2 million a year, is going to the USOPC, and yet we have athletes that are saying, we just don't have the resources here, we're going elsewhere? Does that bother you?
No, it doesn't, because we still have a lot of athletes that I know personally who are proud to train here and who call this place home.
But who are leaving here?
And 10,000 of them. So again, that's part of any ecosystem. People come in, people move, people come in, they move. But does that mean we have a problem in our hands? I don't believe so. You have my commitment to ensure that I am doing the work. I am doing the communication. Like I said, this presents an opportunity for me to learn more about those athletes that are leaving.